Greetings, my name is Landon Hawes. I am a Senior Planner for the City of Grand Junction's Community Development Department. This presentation accompanies a request by Chris and Heather Dennis for a Certificate of Appropriateness, or COA, to 1. Demolish a 600 square foot garage, 2. Construct a 2,160 square foot garage, and 3. Erect a 6-foot fence on 0.24 acres, located at 640 North 7th Street, within the North 7th Street Historic Residential District. The applicants, Chris and Heather Dennis, reside at 640 North 7th Street, which is a contributing structure in the North 7th Street Historic Residential District, known as the Fabracci House. The home was built in 1905 and was originally owned by C.F. Fabracci. It is of the Colonial Revival architectural style. The Fabracci House also has 2 accessory buildings. One of these is a 220 square foot historic garage, which is a contributing structure to the district, which will remain on site. The other is a 600 square foot garage, which the applicant proposes to demolish and replace with a 2-story, 2,160 square foot garage. According to the applicant, this garage was constructed in the late 1980s and is not historic. It had not yet been built when the North 7th Street Historic Residential District was added to the National Register of Historic Places in 1984. Photos of the 600 square foot garage attached to the staff report show a dilapidated metal-roofed structure with wooden walls that does not match the color or architecture of the primary structure and is not consistent with the character of the district. The applicant proposes to construct a 2,160 square foot accessory structure in place of the existing garage. The structure would have 2 stories. The first story, which is also the building footprint, would be 1,290 square feet and would have parking for 3 cars, while the second story would be 870 square feet of residential living space. The roofing and paint for the new garage would match the existing house, while the garage doors would have a historic appearance that would fit with other doors in the neighborhood. More details are contained in the analysis section of the report. The applicant plans to apply for a planning clearance to build an accessory dwelling unit on the 2nd floor of the new garage. This application will be reviewed by community development staff if the Historic Preservation Board approves the COA and would be reviewed administratively. The proposed ADU is an allowed use in the district, per the underlying R8 zoning for the property, provided it meets zoning and building requirements. All application for alterations, new construction, or site improvements within the North 7th Street Historic Residential District must be reviewed by staff and decided by the Historic Preservation Board in a public hearing. As provided in Section 26.24.010, new construction in the North 7th Street Historic Residential District is allowed, as long as the design, siting, and construction are congruous with the character of the district. District guidelines and standards that are relevant to the review of this request are contained within the analysis section of this presentation. As provided in Section 26.32.020, an application for demolition for any accessory structure in the district is required to be reviewed by staff, with staff providing a recommendation to the Historic Preservation Board. The board then makes a final decision on the application based upon review criteria found in this section. An appeal of the board's decision shall be heard by City Council. To further inform the decision, staff shall prepare a report with findings, including recommendation regarding historicity. Any application for a Certificate of Appropriateness in the North 7th Street Historic Residential District must demonstrate compliance with the district-wide design guidelines and standards found in Chapter 26.20, as well as the applicable regulations in Chapter 26.24 of the Guidelines and Standards, contributing structures, non-contributing structures, and new construction. Applications for demolition must also meet Chapter 26.32, demolition of all or part of all structures within the North 7th Street Historic Residential District. Criteria for each chapter section will be briefly explained in this presentation, with more detailed explanations in the attached written staff report. Chapter 26.20, District-Wide Design Guidelines and Standards. Applications for certificates of appropriateness must demonstrate compliance with this chapter, including sections 26.20.010 through 26.20.110. This section includes guidelines and standards such as minimum bulk requirements, landscaping, utility systems, and fencing, among others. Except for Section 26.20.010 and 26.20.090 as provided below, staff has found the guidelines and standards are generally not applicable to the scope of the request. Staff finds that the relevant requirements of this chapter have been met. Section 26.20.030, regarding landscaping in the public right-of-way, was erroneously labeled as a relevant section in the written report, but because no landscaping in the right-of-way will change as a result of this project, that section does not apply here. Section 26.20.010, minimum bulk standards and requirements. Staff finds that the unique property line setback standards of the district are met by this project. Section 26.20.090, fencing. The proposed 6-foot cedar wood fence is similar to materials and styles which already exist in the district. Staff finds this criterion to be met. Section 26.24.010, general guidelines. The proposed garage matches several design elements with the primary structure on site and blends with surrounding buildings instead of duplicating them. Staff finds that this criterion has been met. Section 26.24.020, building proportions, mass, and form. The building proportions, mass, and form of the proposed garage are similar to neighboring buildings within the district. Most structures, including some accessory structures, are 1.5 to 2 stories or greater. The proposed garage has a pitched roof comparable to the existing house and other structures in the district, and includes new windows with patterns similar to those on the existing house. Staff finds that this criterion has been met. Section 26.24.030, orientation and lot coverage. Lot coverage of adjacent properties in the district range from 20.6% to 47.9%. The proposed lot coverage for this project is approximately 30.5%. Staff finds this project has similar lot coverage of neighboring lots, and therefore that this criterion has been met. Section 26.24.050, exterior materials. The proposed exterior wall material for this project, wooden lap siding, matches what is currently present on the applicant's house and is commonly found on other structures within the district. Therefore, staff finds that this criterion has been met. Section 26.24.080, windows and facade treatments. The applicant proposes to use single-hung windows that generally have the shape and proportion of windows on the primary structure. Therefore, staff finds that this criterion has been met. Section 26.24.090, roof forms and materials. The proposed accessory structure roof has an 8/12 pitch, is gabled, and uses asphalt shingles that match the ones on the primary structure. Staff finds that this criterion has been met. Section 26.24.100, trim and details. Both windows and roof trim used on the new structure replicate those on the primary structure. Eaves are represented on the submitted building elevations as being nearly identical. Therefore, staff finds that these criteria have been met. Section 26.28, contributing structures, guidelines, and standards. The proposed garage does not physically connect to the existing house and garage. Staff therefore finds that the proposed demolition and construction do not destroy historic materials that characterize the property and could be removed without damage to the essential form and integrity of the property. Staff finds that these criteria have been met. Section 26.32.020 of the Code provides approval of a certificate of appropriateness for a demolition may be issued upon consideration of the following: whether the applicant has made a good faith effort to pursue reasonable, cost-effective alternatives to demolition. The applicants have found that the useful life of the structure has been reduced to a point where it is no longer desired or practical to continue use, to remodel or otherwise reuse the accessory structure. Staff supports this finding and believes that this criterion has been met. Whether the loss of part or all of the subject property would be detrimental to the quality and continuity of the site, district, or surrounding neighborhood. The applicants have demonstrated through the use of photography that the structure to be demolished is not historic and would not result in a loss of historical quality for the neighborhood. Staff finds this criterion to have been met. Whether denial of the application would result in an undue economic hardship for the owner or applicant. Based on a thorough analysis of the financial, economic, and engineering information described below, the Historic Preservation Board may determine that there is an undue economic hardship if the following criteria are met. Number 1. No economically viable use consistent with the zoning of the property will exist unless the demolition is approved. Note: inability to put the property to its most profitable use does not constitute an undue economic hardship. As previously noted, the existing garage structure has exceeded its useful life, and as such the property owner would like to demolish the structure and replace it with a new garage. The property continues to have an economically viable use with or without the demolishment and replacement of the accessory structure. Therefore, staff has found this criterion to be not applicable. Number 2, the hardship is peculiar to the building or property in question and must not be in common with other properties. The proposed demolition affects only the property at 640 North 7th Street, and the issue of this garage is specific to and not shared by other property owners within the district. Staff finds this criterion to be met. Number 3, the hardship is not self-imposed, caused by action or inaction of the owner, applicant, or some other agent. The applicants purchased this property in 2018 and have inherited the accessory structure from previous owners. Staff finds this criterion to be met. Number 4, the applicant has attempted and exhausted all reasonable alternatives, which would eliminate the hardship, such as offering the property for sale. As mentioned, remodel or continued use of the structure proposed for demolition has been found by the applicant to be impracticable. Sale of the property is not a reasonable alternative for resolution of this issue, and as such, staff has found this criterion to not be applicable to the request. Section 26.32.040 of the North 7th Street Historic Residential District Guidelines and Standards provides that staff shall prepare a report with findings, including recommendation regarding historicity. This report has described the non-historic, non-conforming nature of the building proposed for demolition, and staff finds that it is not historic. This report also describes the new accessory structure proposed for construction, and staff finds that this structure conforms to the requirements of the district guidelines and standards. After reviewing the request for a Certificate of Appropriateness, COA 2020-86, for demolition of an existing non-historic accessory structure, construction of a new building, and new fencing on the property located at 640 North 7th Street, the following findings of fact have been made. The request conforms to Chapter 26.20, District-wide Design Guidelines and Standards for the North 7th Street Historic Residential District. The request conforms to Chapter 26.24, Contributing Structures, Non-Contributing Structures, and New Construction for the North 7th Street Historic Residential District. The request conforms to Chapter 26.28, Contributing Structures Guidelines and Standards. Additionally, due consideration has been made to the criteria provided in Chapter 26.32, and it has been found that demolition is warranted in accordance with Section 26.32.010. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the request. This concludes my presentation.